Welcome back to the channel. We're still here. We beat Southampton. I thought we were going to slip up. I thought that was going to be our banana peel, but we're still doing it. Still got our form. I think we've lost like 1 in 15 or something mental. Wolves this weekend. Another tactical preview we're doing here. We'll get onto it, but I think it won't be another easy game. Joined by Krish from the All in Good Sport podcast, which you should check out. I'll put the link in the description, and just check out Leeds Student Radio Sport as well. Again, link will be in the description. Loads of great sports, football content, whatever tickles your fancy, really. But just hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It just helps me out, and you can come back for future videos. Check me out on TikTok if you haven't already. It's been a booming month, really. So yeah, all good. Let's get into it. How can Bournemouth win? We'll start on the positives, so people keep watching the video. But yeah, it's obvious that we're better than you at this point. I mean, what?
Yeah.
You're at 17th now, but
17th, yeah.
Things turned around in recent weeks.
Yeah, I think for us, it's one of them where I think throughout the whole season for us, it's very much kind of been, and it's been the same the last couple of seasons really, where we're sat kind of sniffing around the relegation zone, and it's very much a kind of will we, won't we. But I think there's enough kind of quality within the squad, and that's been evident in how we've performed, that I think we'll be okay. Like, you look even second half against Liverpool this sort of last weekend, where actually we were by far the better team in that second half. They had 0 XG created, they had no shots on target. We are a squad that have the capability to go out and win games. So it's one of them where I think we shouldn't go down, and we are on the up. It's getting that consistency. I think that's where we've struggled.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, I sort of led you in the wrong direction there, because I'm meant to be talking about how we can win.
How you can win.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I said that wrong or whatever, but
No, that's all good.
okay, so what have the problems been this season? I think defence has been one of them, though.
Yeah, definitely. I think again, it's one of them where we had through kind of the O'Neill times where it was very much kind of topsy-turvy, I think is the kind of best word I can use. We've got fullbacks who aren't necessarily defensively particularly strong. Matt Doherty's now had to kind of jump in at centre-back, where he's never played through his career, really. And to give him credit, he's been very good. But we've sold centre-backs the last couple of years. We sold club captain Max Kilman, who, don't get me wrong, I don't think is a particularly brilliant footballer, but we're still a semi-decent footballer. Totti Gomez, who is young, hasn't played much Premier League football. Then Santiago Bueno, same goes. They're not bad players, they just don't have the experience to really compete yet. So I think the defence has definitely been our kind of biggest flaw, and defence from set pieces. We have the worst record from set pieces, full stop, in the league. Like, that's our kryptonite.
Okay, yeah, I feel like maybe we can use that to our strengths, because we're not like the best at set pieces, but we also have a lot of variety to ours. Like, we have, sometimes we'll do the routines with the corners. Scored against Arsenal and Brentford, but like we can put the ball in. Like, Howson's like 6'2" or something.
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Yeah, you've got Dango Ouattara, who can jump really high. I don't know if you saw Saints.
Yeah,
Christie's really good at crossing, so maybe set pieces are somewhere.
I definitely think that's an area that I think you guys can definitely exploit against us, because again, every time the ball goes out for a set piece, as a Wolves fan, you do worry. So I think it's definitely an area that you guys can exploit.
Yeah, I know you haven't got them anymore, but when we had O'Neill, like, that's what I felt like. Someone had a corner, and I was like, shit.
And this is, I think it's a hallmark of a Gary O'Neill team is weakness from set pieces. Yeah. And I think we're getting to the point where we're out of it, but we've still got that kind of hangover from having O'Neill, where it's kind of like, as Wolves fans, you're a bit traumatised, you're a bit kind of PTSD on the whole set piece front because of the times that we had under O'Neill.
Yeah, I feel like we could get a lot of corners as well, because we get a lot of corners generally because our players are very like shot happy.
Yeah,
we take a lot of shots from like in and around the area, and of course they're going to get deflected, saved, whatever, and then you get a corner, and we can attack you with that.
And sort of on that note, actually, just on a sort of quick one, Jose Sarri is a keeper who isn't necessarily hugely brilliant in terms of holding onto the ball. He's a good he can get himself across to a ball very well. He can make those kind of acrobatic saves. But in terms of holding onto the ball, he's far more eager to parry it away and to deflect it. So I think corners are definitely an area to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking at like your recent results here, and like you struggled against Newcastle, Chelsea, Forest. Do you feel like you're struggling more against the big teams than the teams that are in and around you?
I don't necessarily think that the scorelines have been hugely reflective. If I'm being completely honest, I think like Newcastle was a game where we didn't play particularly well. I can grant you that. But we look at the Arsenal game. That was a really random one where we could have got something. Liverpool, we could have got something. But then you look at the game we had against Villa sort of in the first week of Feb, where I went into that not expecting a thing, and we came out winning 2-0. I think it's not necessarily struggling against the bigger sides or the smaller sides, it's the lack of consistency. That's our biggest sort of area of weakness currently, is from week to week the team looks unrecognisable sometimes. So it's one of them where any week anything can happen as a Wolves fan, I think.
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, yeah, I'm just looking at your team, like, but you are on a high at the moment. So do you just have any other thoughts on your weaknesses and how we might be able to exploit them, or do you want to move on to the positives?
No, I can. There's definitely a couple of things. I think in terms of our sort of attacking players, I think we've struggled a little bit sort of outside of Matheus Cunha, really, where if he's not having a great game, I think we kind of struggle to fill that gap. He's someone who carries the ball brilliantly, is a great passer of the ball, and works really well with Aït-Nouri on that left side. And if that link up isn't being found, or if Cunha's not massively in the game, there's not necessarily that kind of the dynamism in the sort of attacking players. Someone like Strand Larsen is someone who could hold up a ball very well, but he's currently injured. He may be back for the weekend, but I doubt he'll start. So he's someone who can provide a threat. But you look at Guedes, you look at Sarabia, neither of them look hugely likely to provide a spark. So I think it's that lack of dynamism outside of Cunha, and I think goal scoring for us has been a kind of area of weakness. So again, I think that's not necessarily something that you can exploit, but I think it's an area that we have struggled in. So, and given that you are defensively solid, we could struggle there.
Yeah, definitely. Is it often that Cunha has an off game, or?
I would say since he was suspended, he had that 3 games that he missed.
Yeah.
Since then, it's been more often, and I think this kind of lack of sharpness that came after that little run where he wasn't in the team has led to it. I mean, if you look at his returns, he was incredibly strong pre-Christmas, and since then hasn't necessarily been as strong on the returns, but for me he's still the same Matheus Cunha. At any time he can give you a spark. I mean, you look at the goal he scored against Liverpool, he's a phenomenal player, and at any point he can turn it on. It's just when he's not turning it on, that's where we struggle.
Yeah, so if Strand Larsen doesn't start, will it be Sasa Kalajdzic?
Kalajdzic still probably injured. I think he's back in training now, but by the looks of things, it will probably more than likely be Guedes, unless Munetsi is used in a kind of different role to the one we expect him to be played in. He's looked great going forward as a kind of box-to-box midfielder, and if Pereira wanted to be kind of experimental with it and try something different, I could see Munetsi being used as a kind of attacking midfielder and letting Cunha lead the line. So it's a bit of an interesting one there, really. You've got options.
Yeah, and I suppose that could be a way for you to beat us, because I mean we'll move on to that now. But if you do have these different options, because we're a good team, and what good teams do is look at how other teams are doing well and stop that. But if we don't know what you're going to do, if you try something new out against us, that could really throw us off, especially like with our press. Our press is very specific. Yeah. If you start doing something different, it could really throw us off. But yeah, we'll stick to the Munetsi. Is that that's how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Just talk to him about him. Has it been quite exciting since coming in?
Yeah, so he was signed in the January window. He played against Blackburn, played against Liverpool, and both sort of the expectation when he signed was that he was going to play as a defensive midfielder. That was the understanding that I had. at no point has he really looked like a defensive midfielder. He's looked like a box to box, almost a little bit of an attacking midfielder. He's one of those that you won't see him kind of in the build up necessarily, but the ball will fall and he's there. He's always kind of around the box, and we've not seen him start yet. I'd quite like to. I think for me, I look at players like Sarabia, I look at players like Guedes, and I don't think they've got that spark. I don't think they've got that kind of. You don't look at them and you're not excited. Yeah. Whereas someone like Menezzi, I've looked at him and gone, he could be a difference maker. He could be someone kind of, in the same vein of Mateus Cunha, who could just change a game. He could have scored against Liverpool. He could have scored against Blackburn. I think he's someone who, if we use him right, could really be the key to Wolves getting something out of the game.
Yeah, and that's going to be someone that, again, we're not prepared for. We haven't.
No.
We haven't seen him yet. We won't really know what to do. It'll be difficult for him because Christian Adams are obviously just so good in midfield, but we could see it. We could see it.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Generally, I mean, it's been a good run of form, as you said. The Arsenal game probably deserves something. Beat Villa, beat Blackburn, both of them clean sheets as well, which is both well for the defence. And then that Liverpool game, you should have got something again. Really, what has been the main thing that's changed and enabled you to go on this form?
I think to be honest, a lot of it comes from the belief within the squad. I think you look at kind of how we started this season and a lot of the games under O'Neill. You look at the way Cunha was suspended, and you look at all the kind of stuff that happened with that Ipswich game, where that was a real low. That was a game that we went into expecting to win. We came out of it with our star player suspended. Aït-Nouri being sent off, scraps after the game. Our club captain stripped of the armband. That was, I think, the final nail in the coffin for O'Neill. And I think since Pereira's come in, he's been someone who has been very kind of vocal about his support of his team. I mean, he said prior to the Liverpool game, and a bit of a hyperbole, but he said, these are some of the best players in the league. And with Mateus Cunha, that isn't necessarily, that's not far from the truth. He is a spectacular player. So I think a lot of it has been the kind of the belief within the squad again. It feels, and even as a fan, it feels like we can win games. The Villa game is a big one as well. That's something where, as a Wolves fan and as a Wolves player, that's a huge result. But the fact that we can take teams like Liverpool to the very last minute, even winning the easy games like Blackburn, that's not necessarily, it's not a guaranteed game for us. Whereas for other kind of clubs it would be. So I think the belief is something that's really carrying us through at the minute, and hopefully gives us a platform to build from.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, Blackburn are not a bad team.
No,
that's 100%. It's not an easy game, but yeah, as you're saying with Pereira, obviously came in you beat Leicester United, drew with Tottenham, then you went on as I say, is it harsh to call that a dry spell there where you lost to Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, but yeah, you are back on this good form. Do you see him as someone that in the future can take you forward and move up to potentially challenge him for Europe, or is he more of a stopgap that's steadied this O'Neill sinking ship?
I will say, just on the first point about the run after the Spurs game, I will say we played Forest, we played Newcastle, we played Chelsea, we played Arsenal and Villa.
Yeah,
those are fixtures where you don't expect to get anything out of them. And to be fair, against Newcastle we didn't deserve a thing. Chelsea, we weren't brilliant. Arsenal, I thought we had a great game. So again, it's one of those where that was a really tough run for him to start with. But it's an interesting one because of the way that Wolves is run, where we've had talented managers come in. You look at Bruno Lage and how he's doing with Benfica. He is evidently a good manager, but wasn't backed by the board. Lopetegui, I don't think he's a particularly brilliant manager, so I'm going to ignore that one. But O'Neill, again, isn't a brilliant manager, but wasn't backed by the board. Pereira seems to me to be a decent manager. The problem is our board haven't backed any manager really since Nuno was in the Championship. So it's really hard as a Wolves fan to see any manager as your kind of project manager that you want to build around if the board don't support the project. So I think Pereira has the managerial know-how to build a project and to take Wolves further. I just don't think the Wolves board have the ambition to do so.
Yeah, that is a shame. I mean, yeah, because your squad's just not. It's not good enough for him to be taking.
And it isn't. But the thing is that the kind of the thing that, as a Wolves fan, and I know the sentiment shared by a lot of Wolves fans, is that you look at when we came up to the Premier League, we were a team that, we had probably, arguably, one of the best Championship teams ever. We'd signed Porto's club captain, Ruben Neves, in the Championship. There was ambition there. Since then, Jimenez got injured. We replaced him with Fabio Silva for 35 million, who was a kid. Jota went, we didn't replace. Neto went, we didn't replace. Moutinho left, we didn't replace. Connor Cody left. We've sold our club captain, or our club captain has left in 3 consecutive seasons. For me, we sell players, we develop players into spectacular players. Look at Pedro Neto. I know he's not having the best of times at Chelsea, but he was still a great player. Sold him, didn't replace. My problem, and the problem as a Wolves fan, is that the board don't back our managers. There's no project and there's no ambition. Until that changes, I think as Wolves fans we'll struggle, and as Wolves we will struggle.
Yeah, no, that is really sad, and I think myself and probably a lot of other fans didn't really clock that there was a big problem going on at Wolves, because it obviously doesn't get probably talked about, but
yeah. And that's the thing, is that I feel like and with Wolves, having spoken to my mates and other football fans, we kind of gained a little bit of likability with the whole European run. And under Nuno, we were a pretty likeable team. We beat City home and away in the same season. We were a side that had real potential, and it just hasn't been realised. And it doesn't necessarily get spoken about. We're not a side that are flying up there. We're not a glamorous team. We're from Wolverhampton at the end of the day. It is a shame, and I'd love to see it rectified, but I worry how that'll be done.
Yeah. Well, just finally, any other points you wanted to touch on, how you think you can win or just even get a result this weekend? Is there anything that stands out to you?
I mean, it's the same with most Wolves games, really, where there's one man who you kind of look at to carry the team on his back, Matheus Cunha. He is someone who, if it's his day, he's someone who can change a game very quickly. You look at the goal he scored against Liverpool. You look at how he's been all season. If Cunha brings his shooting boots and plays the way we know he can, he's someone who can take the game away. It'd be nice if Strand Larsen is back fit and back in the squad. I think that's going to be something that will really help us. And I think for me, they're our key going forward. Defensively, I think we've been a lot more solid recently. And I hope Jose Sarr doesn't make any mistakes, because that's somewhere where I always worry. But no, I think I hope it'll be a competitive game. I think if we play our best, it should be a competitive game. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think mistakes we could definitely see with our press. That's kind of what we pay for. But look, I've been saying it for a few weeks. People will keep calling me pessimistic, but I'm still worried that this run's going to end. And Wolves, you're on good form. You're not a bad team at the end of the day. You could very easily, even just a draw here, would feel like a disappointment for us. And I could see it fairly easily happening. We could, again, still, Scott came back at the weekend. We've got Tavernier back now. Sinistera's on the bench, but we still, that same team that's starting, have been starting every game, playing 90 minutes the last month. We are still in an injury crisis. It's going to stop at some point. We're not going to be able to keep going.
No.
Could it be this week, potentially? And
this is the thing, Wolves have kind of always played that role of being that kind of team to upset teams. Since we came up, you look at like I said it a minute ago, but the way we kind of did Man City a couple of years ago, we were kind of their bogey team for a little while.
Yeah.
And we I think we kind of relish that role, even against Villa, who are a team that should be beating us. It's we compete well against bigger sides, so I'm intrigued to see how we go.
Go on then, give us your score prediction for this weekend.
Right. Okay. What I will say, I'm going to say 3-2 Wolves. I'm going to say 3-2 Wolves, right? And you'll go 2-0 up. You'll go 2-0 up, and I've got a sneaky little feeling 3-2 Wolves. Cunha scores 2. Strand Larsen 1 off the bench. No, I'm going to change that. Tommy Doyle scores.
Tommy Doyle, yeah.
Tommy Doyle.
I don't see you scoring 3 goals past our defence, and I don't. The thing is, under O'Neill, this was a thing. We kept bottling 2-goal leads, but under Areola, can't think of many, to be honest. But we are kind of bad at being ahead. Like, we're never ahead. We're always
No.
score late goals or like put the pressure on when we're down. So yeah, I don't think that'll happen. Touch wood, but I think I do. I don't want to predict it.
The last game we played was 4-2 to you, right?
Earlier this
Yeah, Kluivert scored a hat trick of penalties. So this is what I mean. It feels like the kind of game that can be very open. So I'm not gonna go against that. I think it's not going to be a 0-0. I know that for sure.
In that case, I was going to go 1-1, but you know what? You convinced me there. I'll go 2-2. A bit of a goal.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be open.
Yeah, because I mean, our attack is capable of breaking down your defence, definitely.
Yeah, big time.
If we are just tired and get hit like on the counter or whatever, you can definitely score.
And that's where we score our goals, is if we can break that press. You let Mateus Cunha and Ryan Aït-Nouri run at you, and there's goals there.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope Bournemouth take the victory. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like button, comment. What do you think is going to happen? Win, draw, or loss? Check out Krish's stuff. I'll put all the links in the description. It's easy for you to find. And yeah, that's all. We'll see you later. And up the cherries.